do you get when you take a back in time plot, secret, hilarious misunderstandings, sexual frustrations on multiple levels, and werewolves again? You get the Duke's fluffy secrets. And like my previous furry werewolf review, the story starts off on an intimate scenes between the two main leads. And again, the guy has wolf ears and a tail. I still don't get furries, but whatever. After that beginning, I had to censor. We have a sneak peek with our main leads after a few years of being married, and it doesn't look too good. Viviana and Alto were arranged to be married from a very young age, very standard for historical stuff that we should be expecting. It seems that is possibly why Alto doesn't seem too keen on spending a lot of time with her, but to be fair, the Duke didn't exactly tell them very good things about intimacy to help them prepared for marriage life. Thankfully for Viv, her terrible first night didn't discourage her from trying to explore her own personal sexuality with a heart-shaped wand. Unfortunately, one day Alto walks by Viv's room and hears her doing, you know, and assumes that she is having an affair. This starts a fight between the married couple, which ends in the most stupid, hilarious way. Her throwing her dildo at her husband, and that causing her to fall backwards off the stairs and dying. Chapter 1 ends with Viv waking up, apparently having gone back to time to a month before she marries Alto. With the knowledge of how her marriage can be, like because of the strange sense of time travel she just experienced, she tries to change her future by telling Alto that she wants to break off the engagement. Alto doesn't seem to like the idea. They argue back and forth for a bit until they come to an understanding. Alto promises Viv that he will make an effort so that they can hopefully become closer and possibly have their marriage. And he definitely keeps his word. They sleep in the same bed, they go to a play, they visit a bookstore, eat dinner together, and, um, other things. And all the while, all of these strange elements seem to have one thing in common besides them trying to become close as a couple. It's a huge amount of how everything comes back to carnal desires one way or another. Yep, this is a smut title, and it is possibly one of the funniest things that I have read on Manta. So, for anyone who doesn't enjoy this kind of comedy or just doesn't like sexual matters in their romances or in their stories, I would probably recommend to skip this one. Though there is an all audience version on Manta where they take out, that part. Um, from what I've seen, despite them trying to take away or blur out some of the, more graphic scenes, it seems to still be the same story with the same story beats. And don't get me wrong, I love stupid sex comedies ever since my parents introduced me to the original American Pie trilogy. Especially as someone who is asexual, I am just fascinated by the weird things people will do just to get physical with each other. So thank you, Monta, for having me review this story. Also, like how I felt about reviewing Under the Oak Tree because I've been reading it for years and also really love it, I am hoping I can make this review as unbiased as possible so that you may be able to decide whether or not you will find this story enjoyable. I know it's a bit different. I only learned about this title when I was asked to review it, but I already adore it. So, yeah. So, again, I'm going to try to not be too overly enthusiastic about whether or not you might enjoy this story. I'll try to be as unbiased as possible. For the art style, the only real criticism I have is with Alto. In the first 10 chapters, besides the flash forward scene in the beginning, Viv doesn't actually yet know that her husband is a werewolf. But we as an audience do see it more than once in the first 10 chapters, so it shall be discussed. And that is how I find it really stupid that even when Alto has his wolf ears out and tail, he still has his human ears. I know this is extremely nitpicky of me, but it's kind of weird detail just to leave in. It's unclear whether or not he can actually fully turn into a wolf like Subaru Kageyama and I'm Not Afraid of Wolves. This is one of those reasons why I don't 100% understand furry stories. It's the line of how far the human and animal sides so far one end or the other you can go before it doesn't count as one of these stories. But as someone who doesn't understand the line, all I can ask is, what is the line of human ears in this equation? Should it disappear like I am not afraid of wolves? Does it depend on how wolf-like he is for him to lose his human ears? But thankfully, my want to nitpick about the whole human ear detail, I don't care too much. I kind of love how dumb everything is. And here, on another slight comparison to I'm Not Afraid of Wolves to the Duke's Fluffy Secrets, the seemingly cold male lead with a dark secret. The other small similarity they share is the wolf transformation being somewhat linked one way or another to being aroused. Though seemingly is also the word that should be focused on because that is where the similarities stop between Subaru and Alto. So besides these screwball sex jokes, what I enjoy the most is how open the discussion of sex is present. Of course, the discussion isn't completely out in the open since this is a somewhat period piece, though not taking place in our history. It's not too surprising that some of it seems still a bit taboo, but there are discussions, there are plays, there are books, and many different kinds of kinks, and that is a good thing. When we keep something too taboo, it makes it harder for people to talk about it or even think about it. In the story, it's shown how terrible of a sex ed Alto and Viv got. It was too restrictive and didn't exactly go into much details that you would expect, thus traumatizing both of the young newlywed couples in their previous timeline. And though neither of them have yet had the really big discussion of what their sex lives will be like, they're at least trying to start the discussion. Now, I would usually like to go, talking about the themes of what the story is trying to tackle, but I'm kind of wondering if that's even necessary. Other than communication and trust your partner, I don't see a whole lot that the story wants to say. With the frequency of the sex or porn jokes in just 10 chapters, I would say it's most likely just like other screwball sex comedies. It's not deep, but as far as I can tell, it isn't that shallow either, though it's still shallow in general. The story is exactly what the title is, and it's all about the fluffy wolf duke. It's not trying to be anything else, and I still love it. So if you're looking for a turn off your brain screwball smut, I would highly recommend checking this thing out. Always remember to support the official release of any story you come across, especially if you enjoy it. We who make such entertainments, even pretty looking things, do need to be paid for our work, and we would love to be able to continue making such entertaining and pretty things. My job is to help you find stories and hopefully spread them for others, and it is a privilege to do so.